This now Police and Prison Civil Rights Union says it's disturbing that law enforcement officers continue to face abuse from the public. This follows the shooting at the weekend of a hotel guest by the police. That's after he tried to disarm them. Hotel staff called the police after the guest refused to leave and became aggressive. Now the union says this is just one of many incidents where police officers are faced with life-threatening situations and where some lose their lives. Up next we speak to Richard Mamabolo from the union. Richard, thank you very much for your time. I know you have raised concern and find this video quite disturbing. We equally do as well. But many now have felt that police protocol is a major talking point in such a story where we need to perhaps establish the extent that adequate police training is actually conducted in this respect, where we could have averted such a situation to begin with.
Most definitely, it's one of the important aspects that we've obviously been speaking about, the training processes, and of course it's something that obviously needs to be looked into. However, in the incident that happened over the weekend, I do not think that you can find any wrongdoing on the part of the police, because they exercised restraint, they were quite patient, and of course, in fact, the first time that the person of interest pulled out his firearm, we would have expected that there should be a reaction. By the way, remember, this is taking place in the context where police officers are being killed on a daily basis. And of course, in most cases, police are killed while on duty or while they're responding to incidents that are reported by the public. So it's quite important that people who are gun owners in the country, immediately when you get a firearm license, there are certain protocols that need to be obeyed. And then that person of interest clearly disregarded those, but as well disregarded the authority of the SAPS members who were there to ensure that there's safety and security. And of course, it cannot therefore be acceptable that when such incidents do take place, in the midst of the many police killings, we then sit back and say, well, police are in the wrong. In fact, when you also look at the Criminal Procedure Act of 1977, part of the Section 49 speaks to exactly how police should actually respond when confronted with such incidents. We've been having many incidents where police would perhaps not react in time, and what we have seen out of those is that a lot of police officers have been killed.
Pardon me, I didn't quite hear you properly there. We had a bit of a challenge, but nevertheless, just this question. In terms of that video, some also went on to criticize the speed with which the police acted, that when the gentleman said that he's going to fetch his gun, they were possibly supposed to restrain him at that very moment, that you don't allow him to go and fetch a gun because they exposed each other in that instance. What did you make of that element where some are criticizing the speed, because someone could have died at that point?
Look, police could not have predetermined that the suspect would obviously act in that manner. But however, you would have seen that even though he did that, they acted with restraint, and one of the police officers actually gave him a warning, and that is when he became more aggressive. So police, of course, their main task is to ensure the safety and security of all citizens. Now, they were actually provoked beyond reasonable doubt to an extent where they had to act, and that, of course, that action, if you would remember, was on the basis that another officer had been disarmed, and that, of course, immediately when that happens, it means that the lives are in danger. So we do not think they acted. They obviously acted within the confines of the law, but again, it's a regrettable situation that you had to have such injuries. It could have been handled in a better way had the very same person, of course, acknowledged that he was in the wrong and, of course, respected the authority of the police. We need discussions in the country wherein we look into how we can actually bring about good working relations between communities and police.
But the criticism is, Mr. Mamabolo, just to clarify, that it shouldn't have escalated to that level, that when there's this back and forth with the use of very despicable language, that they should have at that point perhaps taken him in to protect themselves, but also the individual in that instance. It shouldn't have actually gone on to the point where he takes the gun, because he left for a bit and the two police officers were speaking that he's going to get a gun, and they were so comfortably saying that. So they're saying that at that point, They should have acted and not allowed him to go to the bedroom or wherever he disappeared to in that moment to get the gun. And it could have saved everybody's life in that instance.
Look, there's no justification.
You can continue, Mr. Mamabolo.
There's really no justification in... Your line is bad. I'm just saying there's no real justification in wanting to actually turn the situation around, because police at that time had been very patient with the guy, and of course they did not they would not have known that he would obviously fetch the firearm. So it was something which was not predetermined, and in line with what actions then happened afterwards, police reacted in the right manner. It could not have been possible that they would have taken what form of action were they expected to take, because they had been engaging with the person to come down, and instead of doing exactly that, the person decided to fetch his firearm. So it's not justifiable to say police did not react in time on the basis that they could have perhaps taken certain measures even before that time. You know, the moment when he breached his firearm, police were supposed to have acted then. They became patient until second incident where he disarmed an official. So there's no form of justification that can actually have been, that can be justified in this regard.
Now, Mr. Mamabolo, thank you very much for your time.